I think so.
We're going to start. You got half and half. Mike's harder.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. Let's.
Because harder is always better.
That is what she said.
It is.
I think. So this is podcast number 2.
Podcast number. It's really okay for something that costs $2.50.
That starts with Mike's and ends with harder. Like,
Yeah, I know, right?
I think we just figured out how we're going to start every podcast because we both just took a big swig of whatever alcohol we decided we were going to drink.
That's how it's going to happen. Do we have a ban against White Claws or anything?
Absolutely not.
They're tasty.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says.
I don't mind a White Claw. My wife drinks all of the, what's the way to, the carbonated seltzer type alcoholic beverages.
Yeah, Truly.
Yeah. Some of them are good. Some of them I could do without.
It's funny.
Did you just burp into the
I just did. Some of them, my wife likes those seltzer things too, but they come in variety packs a lot, and she'll like 3 out of the 4 flavors.
Yep.
So I am relegated to mango duty.
Yes, you've got to finish off the dead soldiers.
Yeah. I'm batting clean up on that one, which is fine.
I have found myself, and I didn't realize this. I went to a friend's house last Saturday. We went to the lake. And he pointed out the last couple times I've been there, apparently I'm drinking more ciders than anything. And I'm a beer and whiskey guy.
Yeah.
I've got a whiskey display in my office.
Yeah.
And that's really my go-to. I mean, I like gin and tequila and but I have apparently been drinking, I found a mango habanero cider. Yeah, over at Chiefs. So you need to go try it out.
That's exciting.
Chiefs, the grocery store here in town.
So I'm also primarily a bourbon guy, but I like ciders too, and I'm not a cider snob. Like, I like reds. It's cheap, and
I drink Busch Light.
Yeah.
Okay. That's like, if you come to my house and you ask for a beer, you're probably getting Busch Light.
Busch Light.
I like many other beers more than Busch Light.
Sure.
But that's the nice, light, refreshing.
Yeah.
The cider thing, I didn't even realize that I had primarily been drinking cider when I'm up at his place.
Just what you're grabbing.
Yeah. The sweet stuff. I can only do 2 or 3.
Yeah. Some of them are sweeter than others, like crisp apple from... it's not Reds. Angry Orchard crisp apple. Yeah. That's very refreshing.
Yes.
And it's pretty tart, pretty dry.
It's a good, hot, 90-degree day cider.
Yeah. I can drink 18 or 20 of those before I get tired of it.
I just realized the only mistake we have for Mike's Harder is both of us have burped 3 or 4 times, and we are approximately a minute and a half into this podcast number 2.
I think it's going to be that kind of podcast.
Are we going to watch the time this time?
No.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Let's get into it. Podcast number 2.
Yeah.
And we still don't know exactly what we're going to do here. We talked yesterday if we were going to have a format, and we decided F format.
Right. Because why?
Yeah. Because, well, we're not very good at formatted things.
No.
I'd much rather wing it.
Squirrel.
Agreed. So I wanted to talk today about how to pick a firearm, how to pick a gun. And that is such a broad statement.
So like for anybody, not why you pick a gun or why I pick a gun, but like the reasons to pick a specific gun.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And this all stems from, remember when you started working at Crossed Rifles.
Yes.
You had firearms experience, you had business experience, and even sales experience. But outside of the military, my entire adult life has been spent in sales. In fact, perfecting sales teams,
Absolutely.
and sales training, and high-level sales.
You're very good at it. Yeah.
So I put when I started this business, I put my brain to work on training in new employees that we had come in on how to sell guns. I know how to sell guns. I know how to talk to somebody. Sure. And it's not about selling the gun. A good salesman doesn't push a product on you. A good salesman finds your need and fills it.
Absolutely.
Well, we have people coming to us with a need.
A lot of them.
I need a gun. Right? Now, whether they actually need it or whether they believe they need it, let's just approach this from they truly, for whatever reason it might be, I need a gun. And then it's our job to guide them in the right direction, because many of these people, especially over the last 2 years with COVID and the new normal, We've had a lot of people in the shop, and you got to experience this when you were working on the sales floor.
Sure.
Just flat out say to us as soon as they walked in, I never thought I would say this, but
yeah,
I need to buy a gun.
Right. So this is somebody who's not a gun nerd. They're not.
Let's talk about all of it. But yeah, let's talk about the person that's not a gun nut.
Yeah, well, because the gun nerd comes in and they say, well, I want a
CZ75,
320 Legion, and yada yada. But so them not so much. But yeah, the just the average Joe that wants something for protection or range or whatever.
Do you think it'd be safe to say that most people come in here looking for a pistol? This is a true question. I don't know the answer. I know what we sell the most.
I'm going to say yes. I would say most customers come in looking for a pistol. I really do. I really do.
I've always said we are an AR-centric shop.
We are. We sell
way more pistols than ARs. We sell we sell more handguns than any other category here, which I think is that from industry trends, because I get to see those numbers, that's normal.
I think it comes down to economics and the amount of discretionary money you have.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get a really, really decent pistol for, $600-700, and you're not going to do that with an AR.
I don't think so. You're at the bottom end. You're at the starting end for ARs at that budget.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And you're at the top end of a really good, reputable pistol.
Yeah. Sure.
We sell pistols in that $300 range that we trust.
Yeah. Well, we don't sell stuff we don't trust, really.
We don't. Yeah. I have brands that I will not stock here in the store. People have heard that story. Well, maybe we'll talk about those brands today. Yeah. So, I don't want to call them out. But.
So when you're a very good salesman. I learned so much just by sitting behind the counter and watching you talk to customers and figure out what they really needed in a firearm. So where do you start?
We're gonna have customers listening to this, and they're gonna chuckle because a lot of them maybe started down their path of firearm ownership here at Cross Rifles. And sure. I'm gonna tell you, I came up with a sales system. Now we changed that, and it depends on the time of year, but. I came up with a question to ask people when they come in and said, I think I need a gun. I've never done this before, or I never thought I would buy a gun. And it's just a simple question. And that we would start with in this part of the world. And I think this goes for most of rural America. So I don't think it's just relegated to here in Northwest Ohio. Mm-hmm. In this part of the world, when somebody says they need a gun, it's typically for 3 reasons. Now that's really boiling it down.
Yeah.
But those 3 reasons are concealed carry. So that's personal defense, home defense, or recreational use. Mm-hmm. Those first 2 categories, and this is exactly how I would pitch it to a customer, those first 2 categories can be combined more often one way than the other. So a good concealed carry gun could be used for home defense. Sure. Most of the time, the perfect home defense gun is not usually a good concealed carry gun.
Right.
And we just ask them, what do you think you need a gun for? Mm-hmm. And we've gotten plenty of people say, well, just for fun. Yeah. Maybe he's a 19-year-old guy. Maybe she's a 21-year-old woman, and they just want to go out and practice.
Right.
Grew up with some guns. Maybe mom and dad had some guns. Sure. We get that. But I would say the majority of the time it comes down to personal defense or home defense. Mm-hmm. Surprisingly enough, pretty evenly split. There's a lot of people not interested in concealed carry.
No.
So we get that's where it really boils down. That question is so important. What's your purpose of use? And you can't ask a newbie, what's your purpose of use? Words matter.
Yeah, you have to ask a lot of questions, kind of leading questions, like where do you want to use this? Yeah. Where do you envision yourself using this? Of course, you're going to go to the range with it, but are you going to go grocery shopping?
Right.
Because if you're not going grocery shopping and it's going to sit on your nightstand, it can be anything.
Do you ever in the near future intend on concealed carrying?
Right.
That's a way I like to put it.
Sure.
Because a lot of people might come into the shop looking to get a gun. They don't have a concealed carry permit. Even though here in Ohio, we recently went to constitutional carry. Maybe they haven't sought the training that they think they want.
Right.
And it's surprising to me the amount of people that say, no, I don't think I ever will. Mm-hmm. And that leads us to a whole different realm.
Sure.
So and to give some examples, you can buy a larger pistol. You're not relegated just to the pistol world.
Right.
Depending on the type of situation that I've got at my home, I could maybe get a 12 gauge shotgun, maybe get a 410 shotgun. I mean, I don't want to put it on calibers here. Maybe an AR is the answer.
Sure.
If I had to, here's a little sidetrack, squirrel. If you got to pick one gun Every American can only ever have one gun. What would you buy? That's a tough question.
So not as in every American has to have the same gun, but you're only allowed to own one gun.
Dave Winters, you get one gun, and you don't get to trade this in later. Like, this is your gun.
Yeah, I gotcha. Is it in today's society, or am I preparing for when the shit hits the fan?
I don't know.
Today, okay. For today's society, it's going to be a Glock 19. It's going to be something I can take anywhere with me. I can conceal pretty well if I want to. It has a long enough sight radius that I have pretty good range with it. It's something I'm super, super comfortable using. I have thousands and thousands of rounds through a Glock 19, and I don't have to think about any of that stuff. So that's why I'm going to pick that.
There's so many rules we could set up here. I think you could talk me into a Glock 19.
Sure.
I can run Glock 17 mags in my 19, which I do. When I open carry in here, you guys all see I got the extended mags a lot of times, got those extendos. And, there's so many rules here. So if we're talking about the zombie apocalypse situation, I feel like I'm proficient enough that I could probably take somebody else's shit with my Glock 19.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
but then I have more than one gun.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So the rules are you can only buy one gun, or I can only have in my possession, like a video game, one gun at a time.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, there's only one weapon slot.
So I thought AR when I asked you that question.
Yeah, sure.
I think your answer might be able to talk me out of an AR.
Well, I get an AR. I think an AR is good for in a vehicle. An AR is good for in a residence. Or property, depending on the AR, barrel length, all that kind of stuff, Sure. I think AR is perfect for a lot of those things.
But I can't take my AR to Walmart and get my shopping done.
You can't. No.
That's why we conceal carry. Yep. That's why we limit ourselves to 9mm or less. That's why we limit ourselves to, my wife has 6 rounds of 380 because it's not convenient to carry an AR-15 in my purse.
Right. And if it's although you carry a large purse, it's not that large.
Correct.
And convenience. Convenience matters a lot. I left that open
for a prison purse joke. That's go there, and I'm a little disappointed.
That's one of those questions when you ask somebody though, like I don't want to sound sexist here, but a very slender young woman dresses differently than frumpy old guys like us. So if they're going to concealed carry, that matters.
So here's the thing. That does sound sexist, and it's not at all.
No, it's true.
I need to make a distinction here. And this goes back to, what gun am I going to pick? What one gun do I get to pick? Or my first gun? I've had that hard conversation, and you've not attended a lot of classes here. You're one of the few employees here that's not a certified instructor.
That's correct.
For what we do. And so you've never heard me, because I use this example in all classes. We have a customer. She is prominent in the county. Let's just put it that way. That she was very pissed at me. She actually told one of our other former employees, who was an instructor as well, afterward, how she was offended at some of the things I said during our concealed carry class. And it's because I will say radical statements in a concealed carry class to get your attention so that I can then drive home a point.
Sure.
And in all of my classes, since I remember beginning teaching my own, I would say the problem with being a woman, and I would pause like that.
Yeah.
And then I would say, in this industry, and please don't take this the wrong way, right? But when you say the problem with being a woman and you just stop talking is absolutely, well, you get attention. And that's the next thing I say is very important when it comes to concealed carry. Most of the time, and again, I don't want to use blanket statements, but most of the time, women's clothing is more fashionable than functional, and men's clothing is more functional than fashionable. You and I are great examples, not to call you out on how shitty you dress, but we don't care. No. We were both wearing cargo pants today, tactical pants. That a lot of people in the industry even would make fun of people for regularly wearing. I wear them because they're comfortable. I can move well, lots of pockets. More importantly, I've got like 9 belt loops on these pants.
Right.
So when I've got a good sturdy belt, which is important for concealed carry for me, and I don't have to worry about, having the standard is like 3 belt loops around a pair of pants.
Yeah, or
around fashion
4, or yeah.
My wife is a nurse practitioner for a living, and she was an RN for about 8 years. Scrubs don't have belts; they just have little ties, most of them. And It's very difficult to conceal carry in scrubs. So that's a thing that her and I had dealt with. When she moved to nurse practitioner, now she looks like a doctor, right? She wears a white lab coat and she wears professional clothing underneath. Most women's professional clothing, like the black stretchy pants, they don't have belt loops at all.
No.
So that's a thing. When we talk about the problem with being a woman in this industry is many times your clothing. And I think that's something that needs to be pointed out on a sales floor when somebody comes in to pick out a firearm.
Absolutely. And I mean, the tendency today is people get offended when at every opportunity, you know, they get offended. But the simple fact is it's the truth. And we're just trying to help you better understand why we're going to suggest things.
I'm not saying the clothing that you're wearing being fashionable is a bad thing.
No.
And we can't argue that what I said is not true, that most of the time it is fashionable and function.
Sure.
But then also that has the chance to offend a woman that doesn't care about her fashion. And maybe she is dressing.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm not trying to offend you in either way, but we need to wade through those waters because if you tell me you want to conceal carry and I'm looking at very slim fitting clothes, pants with no belts, we need to talk about how you're going to conceal carry on the sales floor.
Yeah, yoga pants and a tissue paper thin shirt, and you want to concealed carry a Glock 17. We have to have a discussion. Yeah, yeah, it's going to be tough.
It could be done.
Sure.
Chances are I'm going to lead you to a different firearm.
Yeah.
So that's something that comes up. In fact, you know, we had a very brief conversation before we turned the camera on of, is there any other topic that would come up? That's one of them that we didn't think about.
Yeah.
Right. So anyways, back to, cause squirrel.
Yeah.
What's the best way to help somebody pick a firearm? What are other questions that you ask that people maybe listening to this or watching should be cognizant of? Let's say they don't go into cross rifles. Because we are the best gun shop in the tri-state area. Well, Bryan, Ohio. I want to
universe.
Do a fake.
Okay, so we got use case out of the way. So we're that's the first thing is, what are you doing with this firearm? Like what are your plans for this firearm? Next is where are you going to do this at?
That's exactly what I would have thought too.
Yeah, like are you defending a 400 square foot apartment, a 3,000 square foot ranch house in town, or a 6,000 square foot massive place on hills out in the country on 12 acres?
I think that's the common place to go. Where am I
at?
Like,
where are you at?
Am I attempting, so we can cover the concealed carry thing, right?
Sure.
If it's going to be, I'm going to be going to Walmart, to CVS, and all the other places that if anybody that works there ever listens to this, they're like, you're not supposed to be carrying guns here. Well, I have to break it to you. But no, or when I lived in Parma, Ohio, which is a subset of Cleveland, I could stand at the kitchen window and watch the neighbor pee.
Yeah.
That's how close we were. In fact, we probably could have high-fived while he was doing so.
Did you ever do that?
No, I wish I would have, though.
Eiffel Tower out the window.
He was a pretty cool dude, too. Baby. Yeah, he would have. Like, if I would have fist bumped, he totally would have. He was an older guy. He was awesome. Or are you going to defend where I currently live, which is kind of a wooded environment? There's really no neighbors. It's pretty dark. It's a very large house, and it's a large property. So there's two very different things there. Yeah. Last thing I want to do is kill the little lady that lives next door.
Absolutely. And that's a real threat with something like a long barrel AR and close living and, you know, drywall, sheeting, vinyl siding. Neighbor house has the same thing. You know, you got to worry about that kind of stuff. Where at your house, not so much. You know,
I can use a 50 cal.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I will literally cut you in half and not worry about what's behind you.
Right.
So that's something that I think somebody needs to be careful of and understanding what that means. So let's dig a little deeper in case somebody's listening to this and they go to the store and they say, well, I live in town, and the jackwagon that works at that store, because there's a lot of them out there, doesn't understand why that matters.
Sure.
5.56 will carry through something like 9 layers of drywall. Plus when you say 9 layers, it could be just 4 layers of drywall and siding and studs and some other things.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the reason that 5.56 works is penetration.
Yeah.
And velocity.
Yeah.
That's why it works.
9 mil, surprising to most people, even hollow points, because people think hollow points are supposed to spread out an impact, mushroom out so that it doesn't travel through. I've seen gun shop employees recommend expanding rounds. So let's just call them hollow points, defensive rounds.
Yeah.
So that you don't get over penetration through drywall. But the problem is their 9mm will still go through something like 5 or 6 layers of drywall.
Yeah.
And if I'm in home, I need to be aware of maybe where other people are located in the house. And when we lived in Cleveland, we had shoot lanes. My wife, God bless her, my wife, I would make her do drills, right? So my wife and I would do drills on, if I'm in this area, this is going to be my sector of fire.
Right.
And this is where I'm going to try to get myself to. So let's say I was in the back entryway and something happened. I was going to fight my way to the top of the stairs or out of the house.
Sure.
And I had sectors of fire where I knew I was good to go, or God forbid, I killed the cool old guy next door. I knew that I wasn't supposed to shoot in that area.
Right.
So that's something that you have to be aware of. What do you think about 12 gauge? What do you think about all you need for home defense is a 12 gauge pump shotgun?
Okay, I think in the right home, that's true. I think the 12 gauge is probably the most versatile firearm on the planet. You can get every kind of freaking ammo possible for a 12 gauge. Anything from some
dragon's breath.
Yeah.
In my 400 square foot apartment. Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to have a Dixie cup of gasoline there first.
Constantly filling it back up
because it's evaporating and making you happy during dinner. No. So that's what I think about 12 gauge is that it's super jack of all trades. Mm-hmm. I think there's only a couple things that it's the best at though. 12 gauge, unless you practice with it, recoil management is a serious problem.
For sure.
Especially, and I don't care who you are, unless you're Jerry Michlik, I mean, and that's because he practices that.
Compare anybody to Jerry.
Anybody, he's an alien.
Yeah.
But so that matters, like, especially if it's, somebody that's of slender build, like, just, you have to do it. You have to be used to it. You have to practice. Your second shot could be up there.
My wife has never shot a shotgun.
Well, I would never hand her a 12 gauge and say we're defending the house unless the shit is totally hitting the fan.
She's got a slight fear of shotguns because it's a large recoil.
It is.
And I'm not the kind of guy to hand somebody a large recoil gun and get them used to recoil that way, because I think it just gets the fear in more.
Yeah. There are light recoil rounds.
Sure.
There are self-defense rounds that have plates in them and buckshot, and they're meant to not go through walls and all that kind of stuff. I think if somebody's comfortable with it, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the 12 gauge.
Sure.
I'd rather see them use buckshot than slugs, because slugs will go through a lot of stuff. Slugs penetrate.
You've got less area of impact with a slug.
You do.
And what I have seen in my history is that the person that has a shotgun is less proficient with firearms in general. They were recommended to get that shotgun because it's more of a point and click thing, which I think is detrimental to that person owning a shotgun.
That thought process is detrimental.
So that's kind of why I asked that question. It was leading into the mythos of, I wish I had a pump shotgun in here. Is there one on the wall? There's not. We've got that Sweet 16 up there.
Yeah.
I wish I could just pump a shotgun now.
Just rack it.
Yeah. So, you will hear every FUD, every old guy, every farmer. This is where we live. And I've heard people say it in the shop. And I always get a little irrationally irritated at this statement. All you need to do is pump that shotgun. Okay, first off, you just ejected a round, or your shotgun wasn't loaded. So wrong.
And wrong.
Yeah, wrong. They shouldn't hear you loading your round, right? Yeah. It should be loaded already. We can all agree with that. Uh-huh. The other thing is that only gets rid of a non-motivated.
Oh, yeah.
Opening the door and yelling, "Hey, fuck off," will also get rid of a non-motivated intruder.
Right.
Or just yelling through, "I have a gun." Mm-hmm. That will so the only thing that gets rid of is somebody that's there to only take your stuff.
Right.
If they're there to take your stuff and also not inherently having an issue with doing harm to you, I don't think it matters.
No.
And many times we're talking about somebody that is on some kind of substance. Maybe they're not all there psychologically. Obviously, there's some issues going on because they're in your home.
Sure.
That I don't think the shotgun thing works that well.
Yeah.
So that's the thing that I have a concern with, and I've had to correct people a few times. Like, hey, let's think this through logically. It's the same as I will hear in concealed carry classes. You can't shoot somebody in the back, or make sure if you got to shoot them outside, make sure you drag them in. And all those mythos. By the way, we'll talk about that in another podcast.
Yeah, we'll do a whole hour of that stuff.
All of those things are not true, right? So I come in the shop. I'm looking to buy my first gun. We need to talk about how we're going to use it, what environment we're in. I would say both of those equally important. I think this third one also equally important. I don't think we've come across one more important topic than another.
Oh, I don't think so. I think everything has to fit.
Budget.
Oh yeah. How much money do you have to spend?
How much can you afford on this object that is supposedly going to use to defend your life?
And that can sound the wrong way coming from a salesman who sells stuff. You know what I mean?
My goal is to sell you the gun, right?
Yeah. My goal is to sell you the right gun. I'm not trying to get the most money out of you.
I'm not.
I want you to fit. I want you to spend as much on ammo as on your gun.
I've called people out in the shop trying to buy guns before. You've seen it happen.
Yeah.
I've asked younger guys specifically.
Yeah.
They're in here trying to buy another gun, and I just ask them, how many magazines do you own? So I know they bought an AR 2-3 weeks ago. I know that they're trying to pump up their numbers.
Yeah.
And I know they have one magazine with their AR. They're trying to buy a pistol or another AR, God forbid.
Right.
How many magazines do you own, bud?
Yeah.
Because if you own one, you might have a pallet of ammo.
Sure.
But if you have one magazine, you have 30 rounds of ammo.
Yeah, that's it.
Nobody reloads a magazine in the middle of a gunfight.
No.
So I've talked people out of buying firearms so that they can purchase either training, which would be the first step, ammo or magazines.
Training, ammo, magazines.
But to go further into what you said, yes, I'm trying to sell you the firearm, but I'm trying to sell you the right firearm for the right budget.
Right.
And it's an awkward conversation to have, especially out here.
It is.
We are in farm country USA, right? I can drive 4 minutes outside of my shop and all you'll see is cornfields and bean fields for as far as the eye can see, which means that all of us are raised by people that it was taboo to talk about money.
Sure.
You're not supposed to ask people how much money they got.
Nope.
That's wrong, right? You get smacked in the ass for that.
Yeah. Well, but the truth is, it's a very important thing.
It is.
It's really important.
I don't want you to spend your electric bill in here.
No.
I'll help you facilitate it if you are bad. If you're bad with your money, you can be bad with your money in my shop. I'm okay with it. But I don't want to undersell you. And that's a thing that some people are afraid to ask for a bigger sale.
Yeah.
This is a blanket statement, and I don't like to participate in Ford and Chevy arguments. Again, we're as rural as we are, we get enough of those.
Sure.
Would you say that, statistically speaking, from our experience, that a Glock is more reliable than a Taurus?
Yes.
That's difficult to say out loud, though, and I don't know why.
It is because I don't like to bash any gun company because there are Tauruses I would carry.
Sky pistols suck.
Yeah.
Was I not supposed to bash?
Bear Creek
Arsenal's a little questionable quality.
Yeah.
No, there's some companies out there that I won't sell in here because I've seen numerous issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you know what?
I get
Do
that.
we sell Taurus pistols?
Oh, yes.
Do we sell a shit ton of them and tell people that they can rely on them? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I think that a Glock might have more customer support, more aftermarket support, more accessories, as far as holsters, which are important accessories, by the way, and also maybe some more reliability?
I think for sure, especially if you're talking about a bad case scenario, weapons dirty, it falls out of your pickup truck going down the road, running away from somebody, you stop, pick it up, and a Glock's 99.999% of the time is going to go bang when you pull a trigger.
For sure.
I don't care what's in it. I don't care what you're feeding it. I don't care how dirty it is. They work. They work. And
there's other brands that fall into that same category. Sig, Smith, a lot of them. We pick on Taurus because 20 years ago Taurus was pretty notoriously junky pistols.
Absolutely.
Nowadays they're not.
Yeah,
for the most part.
the G series pistols are something I would never feel bad about handing somebody to defend themselves with.
Not at all. We sell a lot of them. I don't personally own one, and I wouldn't not own one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get it.
I'm at a point in life where I don't need to.
No.
I have 9 Glock 19s, and I don't need to buy a G2C. I'm buying guns that are odd at this point. But yeah, but that's a budget question because I think we're at, I don't know, like $249 or something on a G2C.
Yeah.
And the starting Glock 19 is $500 for a Gen 3 or Gen 4, $549, $569, somewhere in that range. It's legitimately twice the cost.
Right. So if all you have is $549 or $569, I would rather you get a Taurus, 2 boxes of ammo, a good holster, and a pistol belt.
Yep.
And take a class.
And come see me next month, and when you're a little bit ahead again, and take another class and get some more ammo.
Yep, absolutely.
So that's something we need to talk about. One of the ways that I do that here in the store, I'll give away the tip. So what do you think you're going to be using this firearm for? Personal defense, home defense, or recreational use? And those first two categories can go together. They tell me, they answer that question. The next thing I'm going to ask is, well, and I'm do you know why books have covers?
Because they tell you what's inside.
You can tell, so you can judge what's on the inside, right? Nobody's putting artwork on the outside of a book that has nothing to do with the book. So I don't want to say you judge a book by its cover, but around here, a lot of times you can tell if maybe somebody's blue collar, and maybe they've got 4 or 5 paychecks saved up, or if somebody walks in around here, sometimes you can tell, especially small town, we might even know who they are. Maybe they get a little bit of money. So we're not afraid to ask, what's your budget? And we do it in the most appropriate way. In my mind, I've already picked out, depending on what your purpose of use is, a couple guns. So if you said concealed carry, I'm going to land in that SIG 365 Hellcat G2C, right? And that size of gun.
43X.
Yeah. 43. All of those littler guns. And there's a wide range of budget there. So we just ask, if I think you're a Taurus G2C buyer, many times I will say, well, between 200 and like 550, where do you think your budget lays? And the reason I do that is flat out so that nobody has to say 200.
Right.
I don't want them to say, I can only afford a $200.
Right. You make it okay that you only have $200.
Yep.
Because that is okay.
It has to be okay, but you don't want to make them. So I've got a good gun for 200, but that 249, if they, and everybody's afraid to say, oh, I don't even have $200, right? Nobody wants to be at the bottom barrel. So that gets them that $250 gun. But you'd be surprised how often somebody, and again, you can't really judge a book by its cover, right? I grew up with a grandfather that drove a 1983 Chevy until the day that he died, and he could have bought all of our vehicles cash, right? So you can't always judge that book by its cover, but you'd be surprised how often somebody will say, well, $400 or $500, and you can maybe get them into something other than a G2C. Or then you got to talk about, well, is that firearm budget? Have you thought what extra magazines would cost? Have you thought about holsters? You mentioned you wanted to conceal carry this. Have you thought about the concealed carry class? And that just leads into that secondary question.
Right.
So that's a thing that we kind of come up with here. That's my sales structure. After we do that, I would typically lay out 3 to 4 guns, no more than 4. That's my rule here. People are getting an insight.
Just because it's overwhelming.
It's too many choices. If you give somebody too many choices, they won't choose any. We like to get 3 to 4, and we do process of elimination. Now, I will always lay, if you tell me, if I think you're a $300 buyer, I'm going to put a $500 SIG 365 in there.
Sure.
I'm going to show you why so it automatically comes with night sights when the $300 gun doesn't, right? It's maybe got an extra magazine. It's got some different things that gun doesn't. But I also want to see, should we be buying that gun?
Right.
I would rather somebody wait a week and a half, save up another paycheck, than buy the wrong gun today, and then they have to buy the right gun anyways.
Right.
I want to see what's most comfortable for you.
Sure.
So that's the next thing we need to talk about, ergonomics.
Well, yeah. And you brought up SIG 365, and that's one of the most ergonomic pistols on the planet. I mean, they fit hands, most hands so well. Glocks don't. Glock is not a terribly ergonomic gun.
It's square-ish.
It is. It's 2x4.
Which is the 2 guns that I carry. The Glock 19 and the SIG 365. That's why I use them as examples so often. My wife says she's a SIG girl. Her home defense gun next to the bed is a SIG 320 because it is so much more ergonomic than the Glock to her. It is. Whereas I am way more proficient and comfortable with a Glock 19 or 17 or 19X. The Glock mid-size series than the 320.
It's grip angle.
It is. There's a reason that we have options.
Yeah. Absolutely. I came from Springfield XDs, and when I decided that I wanted a Glock 19 because I wanted to trick my guns out with Cerakote and lasers and all that kind of stuff, and they're the best guns for that. I was never a Glock guy because I always had to work to shoot it. The grip angle was always wrong for me. You know what I mean? I always had to pull the nose of the gun down because of the grip angle. So now I'm used to shooting Glocks, and I've shot a lot of Glocks, and I have to work at shoot other stuff.
Myths of gun ownership, myths in the firearm industry. I'm going to say something. I don't like to say things that I know possibly couldn't be true. Mm-hmm. I don't like to do I don't like to be fact checked.
Right.
When I talk, it's usually because I have experience or knowledge on the subject. But This is a thing I heard that you might find interesting, and we can look up because you're the kind of guy that'll like look into this.
I'll nerd it out. Yeah.
Supposedly, when John Moses Browning, our Lord and Savior, designed the 1911, he took measurements of the standard male posture and how our muscular structure and our bone structure works.
Really?
And he designed that 1911 angle specifically for the male bone and muscular structure of the time, which 111 years ago would have been slightly different. The only honestly, probably grip angle's the same, but we're just a lot chunkier now.
Size, yeah.
And we're corn fed, so we're taller now. But supposedly. And then if you look at a Glock, it's much more feminine designed. Not because Gaston Glock designed it that way, but just because it's such that different angle. Mm-hmm. And that's why a lot of men have a problem with Glocks. That's why they feel uncomfortable. Now, this is, again, entirely, like this could be wives' tale that I heard in a gun shop somewhere. Sure. I picked up, and I always thought it was an interesting tidbit of information. I don't know that there's anywhere you can actually go to research those two specific things.
I'll let you know tomorrow.
I'm sure you will, right? But the when it comes down to grip angle, it's a great example is I can take my Glock 19 and I can knock a set of steel plates down and beat most people around me time wise. Mm-hmm. I've got an M18 with a red dot. I've got an M18 with a Leupold Delta Point Pro on it at home that I absolutely adore this gun. I put the Wilson Combat Grip module on it. Mm-hmm. I have to shoot 100 rounds before I can hit a plate.
Yeah.
Now then I can clear the plates, but I need to reset that feeling.
That presentation changes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It sure does.
I will shoot low every single time.
Which is why I didn't like Glocks because I had to work at it all the time. I had to work at it to shoot fast.
Yep.
And now that I shoot Glocks, they're all the same. So
perfect segue into my next topic, which I don't think is as important as the other ones that we've just talked about.
Okay.
Experience level. Doesn't matter for my first. I've come in to buy a gun. So now, let's say Luke Allen came in to buy a gun.
Okay.
And Joe Schmo, who has never bought a gun. You've got two very opposite end of the spectrum gun owners. Or, Joe Schmo doesn't even own a gun. Are you going to treat us different recommendation-wise because of experience level?
I'm not going to treat you different. I may ask different questions, though. So, like, if somebody comes in that has a bunch of guns already, I'm going to ask different questions than somebody that is buying their first gun. Yeah, like, are you trying to fill a niche somewhere? Mm-hmm. Like, do you want a super fast race gun for out at the range, or you want something that's super wild and crazy, which is my specialty? Do you want something that's super easy to conceal when you're in a Speedo, so yes. I'm gonna direct more questions.
I do now.
So I'm gonna
before.
So I'm gonna direct questions that way. If it's somebody's first gun or second gun, I'm gonna ask, what do you already own? Uh-huh. So what kind of what it goes right back to use case. So what are you going to use this gun for? You already own 150 pistols.
Yeah.
What do you actually want to use this for? Is it just to scratch an itch? Or is it like, I don't have a pistol currently that does what I want it to do?
I'll blanket statement time. I'll say if the Luke Allens of the world come in here to buy a gun, it's just to scratch an itch.
Yeah.
It's to add a number to the tally. It's to fill up a safe so that I can buy another safe.
Sure. So then I'm going to find something that's super cool.
Right.
That's weird.
Right.
Or I'm gonna talk you into making something weird.
So the experience level that matters around here, though, and you've seen this time and time again, is these farmers that we're talking about so much in this podcast.
Sure.
the majority of these older guys around here, they didn't need handguns.
No.
They didn't conceal carry handguns. Crime hadn't made its way here yet in the 80s and 90s when they were in their formative years.
Well, and in their formative years, there was a rifle rack in the back of their truck, and there was a rifle and a shotgun in it all the time.
They are very proficient with shotguns, firearms in general. They probably even have dad's old revolver at home. I'm sure they've shot their friends' semi-automatics, but their expertise as far as owning one is almost none.
Right.
It's amazing how many, and these guys are really good at admitting it, by the way, which blows me away. Because they're not, like, if you ask these guys if they knew about, the newest tractor and they didn't, they'd totally fake the funk.
Yeah, right.
But they'll tell you straight up, I don't know anything about these pistols, man. Tell me a little bit about this. And, and this is where you get the old timers to say, well, they come in looking for a revolver.
Yeah,
and you have to talk them out of it.
Yeah, they're worried about plastic guns and striker fired stuff, and it doesn't have a hammer. And
their dad was bitching about Glocks in the 80s.
Where's the safety on this thing? Sure. And all that, and that's a discussion you just need to have,
Yeah, and it's all overcomable.
No, for sure.
Overcomable. I think that's a word. Yeah, it's
all
something that you can overcome with these people. You just show them that the polymers of today aren't quite what the the Tupperware guns were of the 80s and so forth. And
no Bakelite in this frame.
Right. Luckily here at our shop, I don't think we have. Well, we do. We have one employee that carries regularly carries a firearm with a safety, so it's pretty easy to show. Hey, it's probably okay if it doesn't have a safety, but if you're more comfortable with it, we're not safety snobs here.
No,
we're not, and we're not no safety snobs. We're not the guy that says you have to carry a gun without a safety.
Nope.
But it's something that I take into consideration expertise level because some of these firearms have easier to operate buttons and levers and takedown levers and slide release and just some different options.
Like an EZ.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think your wife has an EZ.
Yes, absolutely.
Or several.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And not for any reason other than it's just a cool gun, but you've got some extensive experience with one, and when you do, you can just flat out say it's an easier gun to operate.
It is. When we were
named appropriately.
When we were at the range, and she carried a shield for a long time, and when we were at the range. After about the third mag, I was loading mags for her because her hands were getting sore and all that kind of stuff. And with the EZ, she loads her own mags. She has no problem racking the slide. She can run 1,000 rounds in a day. Yeah, and not be fatigued. Where with a gun that's harder to operate, slide is harder to operate, buttons are harder to operate, magazines harder to load. She's not going to go shoot as much.
We had yesterday a guy come in to trade in. This was after you and I had did this. A guy came in to trade in a SIG 365 SAS, and I'm not sure how much you've got to play with that.
Yeah.
The slide release is non-existent.
Yeah.
There's no safety, which is automatically a concern for the guy that wants a safety, and the sights are again non-existent.
Yeah.
It's a very difficult gun to operate. I even myself, and I don't have hand strength issues.
Yeah.
I have to drop the magazine to get the slide to go forward because the slide release is, again, practically, I don't know why it's even there.
Yeah.
There's a Walther, the PPK. No, there's a Walther, PK380.
Yeah, there you go.
The PK380 that doesn't have a slide release.
Right.
It literally doesn't have one, which is what the 365 SAS should
be. Yeah.
You have to drop the magazine to let the slide go forward. Yeah. It's just locked to the rear on an empty magazine. That's all there is to it.
But it's a very specific use case pistol.
It's a light slide. It's a 380. It's low recoil. Like, it's a very specific person you're trying to sell there.
And there's nothing to snag.
Right.
There's nothing to snag.
Right.
That is a holy shit gun.
So that's where we come down to expertise level. The last thing I want to do is give one of these farmers big old paws, sausage for fingers, right? All of the hand strength in the world, a SIG 365 SAS that is a pain in the ass for them to use. Their thumb, covers the entire side of the slide, let alone that little itty bitty tiny slide release that they have on though.
Yeah.
And then they don't go practice.
Right.
And then they hate their pistol, and then they don't carry. And then, from a business standpoint, they don't come back and buy stuff from me for it. So there's all kinds of things there, but you have to think about expertise level when it comes to that as well.
Yep. And I think along with expertise level comes commitment. Yeah. Like, are you going to train? Like, if you're not going to train, you need to fall into a category that is as easy and simple and straightforward as possible. If you're going to train, it doesn't matter that, say, a Glock feels weird in your hand. You go, if you dry fire 10,000 rounds and go fire 500 rounds, it's not going to feel weird in your hand anymore. Sure. It's going to feel normal. That's going to be that's what it is. You can get used to anything. But if you're not going to train, if you're not going to spend a lot of time, if you're not going to shoot your least favorite politicians every time they show up on the television and do all that dry fire at home.
I'm glad you specified it.
On television.
Yes.
And
say that again louder.
On television. Yes. Dry fire practice. Dry fire practice.
This has been podcast episode number 2 and last episode.
And little pieces of masking tape around your house or a Manus. If you're not going to do all those things, and you should anyways. But if you're really not going to practice and you're just going to go shoot a box of rounds once a month at the range shooting paper. You need to be comfortable with it, and it needs to be as simple as possible for you, whoever you are.
I had a segue that I was going to use, and you just switched my brain. I'll tell you the story. My dad was here earlier today. He was here yesterday. You've met my dad a couple times. My dad asked me, it's probably been about 10 years ago. He asked me if I would bring my pistols over so that he can try some out. Because he'd never owned a pistol, specifically for self-defense. I think he had some here and there, Papa's old little, 32 revolvers from back in the day.
25 auto pocket pistol thing.
My dad's an old farmer that we had 410s and 22s for actual tool use to kill a raccoon that might have been getting after the chicken.
Back then, you didn't need to defend yourself. Nobody locked their house.
We didn't lock our doors, and when I grew up, we left the keys in the ignition in the car in the driveway. Absolutely. Right. So about 10 years ago, my dad says, "Well, the world's a changing place, and I think I need to get a handgun." And I, of course, at the time was already a gun nut. I said, "Well, I wholeheartedly agree." So I stacked up my whole pistol collection. It was Father's Day weekend, went over and we shot a bunch of stuff. And he landed on a gun that he liked. And then I told him, you need to seek out some training. So he bought that firearm. And I think a full 2 years later, he finally came and took a concealed carry class from me, who at the time I was really, that was when cross rifles had started. We were really starting to kind of grow some places with the classes. I singled my dad out in class. There was probably 30 people in this class. I remember it very specifically. I feel bad, but I don't. I looked straight at him and I said, and if Steve Rocky doesn't get his gun out, because I knew he hadn't. He had bought the gun 2 years prior. Yeah. I said, if Steve Rocky buys a gun, shoots it maybe once a year and then puts it up in the top of the closet, doesn't get his gun out, doesn't practice with it, the chances are Steve Rocky's going to die by his gun. That's the truth. That's it. Yeah. So you're probably actually putting yourself more at risk by having that firearm, because I think the training is so more important. I just wanted to tell that story and hear my own voice, but that's going to segue into how many times we have people here in the shop. They're trying to buy. Well, we talked about in episode 1, and if you haven't listened to that, go back and listen to episode 1, because it's only one. It doesn't take a whole lot to get caught up. How Dave has a rifle, a pistol, a shotgun, and like a 22 or a couple. We're not going to talk about how many guns you have, but that's it. Not many. I have all of them. Right. I have all the things and want more. Mm-hmm. And I think, in the 90s, you were supposed to be like Mike. I think you should be more like Dave. Don't be like Luke. Because how many times we got somebody coming in here trying to buy their 5th or 17th AR, and for a fact that the first 4, they don't have slings, lights, optics, they don't have magazines, they don't have ammo. You're just adding to. Yeah. And I think that's experience level. I think that all boils down to that experience level. Sure, absolutely. I also think it kind of boils down to personality too. Mm-hmm. Like I'm a practice kind of guy. Like I'm a do it until I'm good at it. I'm good at a lot of things, and the reason is that I practice until I'm good at them. Yep. If I fail at something, I just do it again and do it again and do it again, like many Cerakote chops. For sure. Yeah, but if I have my eyes on the prize, I just stay there until I can do it. And I would rather spend $600 on a gun and $2,000 on ammo than own 4 guns. I think you'll win that gunfight every time. Comparatively. I have so far. Yeah. Well, here you are. But yeah, no, I agree. Now, I take it to the whole next level. I don't want to call myself out for being the guy that, because if you go in my gun room and you look, all my guns have optics. Most of them have lights, and a lot of them, they all have silencers. So I do set all mine up, but there's a lot of people that don't. They just kind of look at it. And I'm okay with that, because guns, they can be an investment. They can be a thing that you put, instead of having cash in the safe, maybe you buy a thing that was probably going to appreciate.
I'm not going to judge you about that. Not at all. Like, buy another gun, please. But go practice. Like,
at least have one.
Have one set up and be good at it. Just have, just be good at it. Be able to defend yourself.
Yep.
Because you may need to.
I think you will.
Well, I do
That's
too.
That's a whole nother subject one day.
It is, but I do too. I'm always ready. I'm always ready.
We talk about one of the reasons I think I need so many ARs is because I think I'm going to have to outfit half of my family and friends, because I'm the crazy gun nut in the area. The crazy gun nut has the reputation of have all the crazy guns, so you better have all the crazy guns.
Sure.
And that's why I actually keep most of mine outfitted. But anyways, what else do I need to think about? I'm gonna come buy a gun. Is there any other, like, what do we talk about here at Cross Drivers? I think we hit all of the top topics.
I think we did. Just remember that with a gun that you're going to carry, you're going to need probably a couple holsters, maybe a belly band, depending on your stature and situation. Maybe a pistol belt and some self-defense ammo and some range ammo.
How many magazines?
And maybe I don't have less. Well, I don't want to say me. I have a lot of magazines, but
you're in a weird situation at home too with space.
Yeah, and I still have a lot of magazines. I live in a camper, by the way, full time, all the time, all the time, and I still have a lot of magazines. I'm 4 or 5, anyways. I always carry 2. In case I have a magazine. The reason most firearms fail is magazine related. It's not firearm related.
Fact.
So I always carry magazines, an extra magazine.
You weren't here the other day. We had a quick poll, and I don't remember who we were talking or what we were. I think we were on the Facebook Live that I do every Saturday morning at 10 a.m. Tune in. No, I think that we were talking about, maybe don't buy another gun. Maybe come buy some magazines.
Yeah.
Maybe come buy some ammo.
Sure.
And we polled everybody here at the shop at the time. How many loaded AR magazines do you currently have at home? Now, you can go through your head on the employees that we have here, right? We have a former Army Ranger, a former Army Green Beret, 28 years retired Coast Guard, which doesn't have a lot of firearms experience, but he probably needs the thickest tinfoil hat of all of us.
Yeah.
We have a Marine, 3 soldiers.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so we've got guys that know a loaded magazine is the only magazine that's worth anything.
Right.
And then we have Bob. Bob's the craziest of all of us.
Of all of us, yeah.
But I don't think anybody said less than 20. Most of us have 40 to 50 loaded magazines. And I don't think I have enough. I still think I need to buy more and load more. It's diminishing returns at a certain point.
Yeah.
But a magazine that's not loaded might as well not have.
I was just going through, like, I have my full kit is loaded and I carry 10 on that. Yeah. I have a drop leg that has 7 in it. And that's just in my, hey, we're leaving the house right now.
That's
like,
the go. That's
like
the
I'm gonna grab my plate carrier. Right. I'm gonna throw my drop leg on. And grab my go bag, and that's just in that.
Same.
Yeah.
Same. I have 7 in my truck, just ready to go.
Yeah.
Just under the seat in case I need to get to them.
Yeah.
And that's not in the plate carrier and all the things.
Yeah.
Let alone if we have time to pick up this tote.
Geez. Yeah.
Right? Because it's going to take 2 of us to pick it up.
I grab my Pelican box too, I don't even know. It's got to be.
I can fight my way to Georgia. Let's put it that way.
It's got to be 30 or 40. It has to be. And like you said, like, I'm space constrained. When I had a house, it was more. But yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I don't have any unloaded magazines anymore.
Interesting. I'm not sure that I do either. It's interesting that you say that.
I don't think so.
I can say I have unloaded pistol magazines because I have a lot of guns.
Yeah.
So sure. All of those guns come with 2 or 3 magazines, and I am if shit hit the fan, I'm grabbing Glocks.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's some Sig mags that aren't loaded, and I've got some Springfields, and I've got some Smith & Wessons.
Sure.
Those just kind of, they live in a tote.
Yeah.
It's for when I go have fun. But yeah, like, I don't know that I have any unloaded Glock magazines or any unloaded AR magazines. And I rock. I've got 3 calibers of ARs at home. So I have 3 different setup. I've got black magazines. I've got tan Magpul magazines, and then I've got black magazines with a red band around them. So just 3 different setups. So
sure.
It's very easy to identify what's what.
Gotcha. I also keep 22 magazines loaded for my 22 pistol, suppressed pistol. It's got a red dot on it, got a flashlight on it. That's I'll shoot deer in your backyard and you won't know I'm there.
I would say that's your past,
kind of thing. Yeah.
Past gun.
Yeah.
I have a Henry lever action with a silencer on it, because with the lever, all you hear is the hammer drop on subsonics, and that's my. Now where I'm at, I don't really need to mask it, but there's been plenty of times where I shoot from inside the house and the kids are standing next to me, and I just dispatch a woodchuck or a raccoon or whatever.
Absolutely.
Huh. Well, that has nothing to do with picking out your first firearm, but it was just a question. You weren't here the other day when we asked it, so
yeah.
I'm done. That's it. I want to drink the rest of this. Mike's hard.
How was your Mike's harder?
Oh, it's a harder.
Half and half.
I'm about halfway through.
I am too.
And I don't drink as much as I used to, and I can tell. It's not. It's just a little bit. It tastes good though.
It is.
It's a little.
It's all right. It's a little tart.
Yeah, it's got that thing.
Well,
thanks for tuning in.
Yep.
See you on
Cheers.
the next one. See ya.
Bye.